Hello, and this week, as they say, it's time for something completely different. I've been asking for some feedback, and I have had one or two people message me to say, yeah, have a go at doing some fantasy stuff, which is a bit of a departure for me, but I like the idea of it, and I like the idea of giving it a go. I've got to be honest straight away. I've not got any particular fantasy game in mind. Just hoping to produce something generic that people might find useful. So basically, I'm kind of referring back to childhood and thinking, things that I remember seeing in comics and stuff like that. So I'm going to give it a go this week as a bit of a one-off. And with that in mind, I went down the local pound shop, or thrift store, as some people call them. Let me get a knife out, scissors. And I picked these up. Now this one was a particular bargain, because when I got it to the counter, I have got it, but its leg had broke off. So the chap said I could have it, which is a really good price. This was 50p. I'm not quite sure what I could use the chain for, but the little skeletons on it, I'm sure I can find bits of them that are useful. So what I thought I'd have a go at, I've got a bit of old board here. It's obviously a road pattern, but I'm going to use it. And I thought, what can I do that's like creepy and different? And I thought what I'd do is use it to make some kind of, sacrificial altar or temple, and have it, with a fire pit in it for sacrifices. So that's the way I'm thinking. So let's just take his head off and then we'll start. Oh, he's a tough little blighter. There we go. Alas, poor Yorick. I knew him well. Never say that this channel don't bring you culture. So this is where I'm going to start with. Let's take his little eyelet off. That not very convincing, does it? In fact, I'll get myself a knife. So, what I thought I'd do is utilise this main skull as the like a cauldron, if you like, for sacrifices. So to make it easy for myself, I'm going to lose this jaw, I think. That's going to be annoying. And I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll cut the bottom off, I think. Right, let's sit in a bit better, because I can build something up around that. What way round to have it, actually? Might have it like that. Probably even shorten it. Yeah. Right. What I'm going to do is I'll get this baseboard cut and then I'll bring you back. Right, so what I want to do, I've cut a bit of random base for it now, as you can see. And what I'd like to do is with the skull, I was thinking of having a fire pit in the top of it. Now, my initial thought was to just cut it out, but if I cut it out, I'm going to have a big cavity to fill. I could use filler and stuff like that, but that's going to make it heavy. So I'm just going to see, this might go wrong, if I can just melt it slightly and push that in from the top and make a shallow fire that way. Yeah, that's softening. I don't want to ruin it because it's the only big skull I picked up. Oh, that's starting to go now, look. And once it's actually filled up, you won't be able to tell how deep it goes, so. Right, let me just get this to how I want it and I'll bring you back. Right, so I've got the dent pretty much how I wanted it now to carry the fireplace. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to secure it to the base. I've given it a bit of a rub down as well because obviously I want to make sure the paint's going to stick. I will give it an undercoat first. But what I want to do now is stick it down to the base. So I've got that in place. And what I'm thinking is, if I offset it to one side a little bit, I could probably, you know, build some kind of slope or stairway or something going up to this point. Because obviously it's quite high in the air. But is it supposed to be some kind of sacrificial altar? That probably looks okay. Right, so I'm going to use my tried and trusted friend, builder's cork, and let's put a good bit on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to smooth it around to obscure where I took the jaw out as well. Do for now. Let's get it in place. So probably there. And what I can do is I can smooth this down around it. I'll probably have to put more in because obviously I want it to be secure and I want it to look like it's fits in with the base material when it comes to place any. That's it. Right. Let's move on to the next bit. Right, so now that he's on there, I need to work out a bit of a stairway going up here. I think the easiest way is probably if I make up some little bricks and then I can kind of build it to fit around it. I think that'll probably be easier. So let me cut this up into a few little bricks and then I'll bring you back. Right, so I've roughly chopped a few bricks. I'm not quite sure how this is going to go, but I want it to look a little bit like an old brick stairway. I've not done anything at Zach, so hopefully it will piece together quite well. Right, so what I'm going to do now is start placing some of these down to build my little stairway. I know you could use bigger stones to get the job done, you know, a bit quicker. But I just think it'll have more of a realistic look when I put them on, if I do it this way. Alright, so I'll just bring that up. You can see the way I'm going. There's nothing, you know, perfect about it. I've kept it rough and ready, which is the look that I want for it. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to carry on building this up, and then when I've got to the top I'll bring you back. Alright, so my little stairway has dried now and it's staying in place. So what I'm going to do is, I don't like some of these gaps and things, so I'm going to use a bit of PVA and filler and fill that over, and also stipple it onto these bricks and fill some of the gaps and then brush it off afterwards, you know, so it just looks a little bit more together. That's it. Right, so what I'm going to do first of all is, like I say, I'm going to fill it into some of these gaps. Just blending it all together now and giving this a coat, so I can use a bit of spray undercoat on it before I start filling in more of the detail. Obviously I'm going to have to wait for this all to dry now, but as you can see, it's tied it all in together. Pretty much all I can say about this, because it's just not my normal thing, but I'm just trying to make it a solid thing and make it look like it's been there for a long time. But at the minute I'm trying to protect the blue foam, because if I do undercoat it before I move on, I mean, I might not. I might just do it, like I said, in black Mod Podge. But it gives me the option. Because obviously if I do use any aerosols, you know, blue foam don't react very well with it. So I just want to be sure that I've got it nice and coated. Right. So basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let him dry. And once he's dry, I'll bring you back. So a little job that I'm going to do while I'm waiting for him to dry is for further down the line. And basically what it is, I've got in my collection some Jarvis number 25 coal. I'm going to use some of it with the train project when I get to it. But for the time being, I'm going to use this obviously for the furnace bit in the top of the skull. Now, I don't know whether this is going to work, but I've come up with the idea of painting a few different colours on the coal and putting them in little piles, and then I can mix them in with the coal to give the look of a burning fire or a hot fire. So with that in mind, I've picked out the most fiery colours I've got by Army Painter. I've got some demonic yellow, sounds the part, pure red, lava orange, yeah, that sounds the part, and for the white hot, some matte white. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sprinkle a few of these into this little pot, mix them around with the colour, tip them out and let them dry, and then I'll blend them in with the plain coke when I come to it. There we go. Right, I can just leave that because obviously I'm a long way from that stage, but it was worth getting the process done just so I've got some of these to sprinkle in. As I say, I might have to touch some of them up, but once it's mixed in with the black, I think it might work. Right, let's put that to one side. I've got to wait for the skull to dry, so there's no more we can do at the moment, so I'll bring you back when things have dried. Well, it might seem a bit counterproductive, but I've given this a blast of black primer, mainly because I want that to be, you know, in the background of the colour, so it comes out, you know, through the dry brushing and stuff that I'm going to be doing. I mean, obviously, I will take the skull up to more of a, you know, skull colour, although it's not necessarily meant to represent a real skull anyway. So it's probably going to be grey. But I just wanted that high contrast dark look to it to start with, and then I can apply the dry brushing, and that you know, it's picked out the higgledy-piggledy brick wall as well. So what I've got to do now is I've got to wait for this to dry, and then when it's dry we'll come back and we'll start looking at applying some of the colours again. So, right, back in a bit. Right, so he's looking pretty tied together now. Only thing is, I've made a bit of a mistake, because before putting the black on, I should really have laid some grit on the bottom of here for my base. So unfortunately I'm going to have to take a step back here and put some of that on, wait for it to dry, coat it again, and then I can pick out the highlights as I really want it. So that's what I'm doing now, and I'm going to use this one because it's got some decent sized stones in, nothing too big, but it's also got a dust, which is what I've been doing here, sieving it through, because obviously around the base of the steps I want it to be reasonably fine, and then around the rest of it it can be a bit stonier. That'll be fine. So what I'm going to do is stick some basing glue on there. And then I can spread it out with my brush. Just got ahead of myself, I think, on that. I think it's because I'm probably in unfamiliar territory. Right, let's smooth that out a little bit. Go. Right, I've got some of the stones that I sieved, so I'm going to put these bigger ones on first. Now I'm going to tip some of the finer stuff to fill any gaps. I think what I might do is actually put a little bit of glue down here on the edge of the stairs as well, and put bits of grit here and there on the stair. Just the finer stuff. I'm going to let it sit there. There's a lot of loose stuff, but I will shake that off afterwards, but just bring it up so you can have a closer look. It looks a bit heavy here, but like I say, it will shake off, that will. Right, so now I'm going to have to let it dry, and then unfortunately just to tie that in. I mean, I could go with the natural colour, but I think it's too bright. I want this to look, you know, dark and moody, shall we say. So I don't really want it to look like it's just in the middle of a beach. Right, I'll let that dry, and then I'll bring you back. Right, it's dry now, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this game colour, bone white, and I've decided I was going to go with a grey for the skull, but I think I'm going to go with a skull colour, and then probably blacken it at the top where the fire is, and then at least then it'll have more of a colour, because I'm going to obviously do, you know, the different shades of grey and other colours for the stone stepway. So let's start with the actual main skull. am going to do is I'm going to leave the actual sockets of the eye black. Right, so I'm going to carry on doing this, and then I'll bring you back when I'm getting towards the end. Right, so I've applied the basic school colour and done a basic white on the teeth area for now. I'll probably, when it's all done, give it a wash, but at the minute I'm just going to focus on putting on all the block colours. So now I'm going to start a bit of dry brushing on the wall. And I'm going to focus mainly on greys on this. I'm not going to add a great deal of colour because I still want that element of it being monochrome, really. Right, let's start applying this grey. Quite a dark one to start with. It's a bit of a heavy dry brush because obviously I want to get the base colour of the steps down. There we go. And in the meanwhile, what I can look at doing is building up a bit of the fire area, because I want to do that in layers. That one. I'm going to use this one. Let's put my first bit of coal into the bottom of that. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to build up the colours of this fire pit, and then I will have to leave it to thoroughly dry, So I'm just putting a bit of basing glue in here to start with. I'll just move that around a little bit so it is all round the edges. Put it on the edge there as well. So just crumble this apart. A few red ones. Just trying to break it up into individual lumps, otherwise it won't look so effective. Well, with the fire built up, what I'm doing now is I'm going to add the sacrificial skulls. I'm just giving them a quick blast of this bone colour. Alright, I'll just bring that up so you can see it. And what I've done as well is I've dripped a little bit of gloss varnish into there to kind of lighten up the coloured coals in the middle. And I'll come back to that, because obviously what I'll have to do is seal it all once I've done a bit more brushing. But at the minute I've sprinkled a bit more round on here, and I've also put another layer of base glue on it, and then we can bring it back and we can start finishing the final brush up of it, and then we'll be getting near to wrapping it up. Right, I'll bring you back soon. Right, I've decided to bring it back, and what I've been doing is I've been putting some little bits of green flock with glue and then pasting it into cracks in the wall and on the steps, so it can look, you know, like it's mould and moss growing on the wall. And what I'm going to do now, I've given it another coat round the bottom. Oh, by the way, obviously my setup is for the Second World War, so when it come to looking for appropriate tufts to put on here, yeah, none of them really work. They're all a bit too bright green fields. But I did find some little purple heather type plants that I didn't, you know, I thought they might look okay. I've not overdone it, but just put one or two in there just to break up the base bit a bit. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give it a bit of a coat of some of this nun oil shade. This is just to really bring out all the textures again and to tone everything down, particularly the skull. I was just going to give it a wash with some of my ordinary ones, but I thought this one might be better because I've had it for ages. I don't use it very often in any of my Second World War terrain, but it has got a slight gloss feel to it, which I thought might, lift this up a bit and give it a bit more of an effect. I think that'll do. Just bring it up a little bit closer so you can have a look. And then we'll take another look at it when it's dry. See if I need to highlight any little bits again. So that's kind of blended everything together now. I'm a bit happier with it actually. What I might do, just why I've got it out, is put a drip on the skull. Right, so he's actually complete now. I just gave him another quick dry brush and just picked up the eyes with a bit of red in the black, just to give it that bit more of a strange look. But it's one of them really, because I'm not familiar with this kind of thing. You could carry on going at it for ages. You could put tufts and things on it, but I think I'm going to leave it at this. Hopefully it fits the criteria of fantasy. It is my first attempt at doing anything like that. I must admit I'm far more comfortable with the Second World War. But yeah, it's interesting. It's been a nice change. Lets your imagination go. So yeah, but I mean, if you want to see me make any more of these in the future, let me know. Just put it down in the comments. But otherwise, I'll drift back to my Second World War. But I just thought, it'd be something for one or two people that have asked for it. Just to, I am asking for suggestions, so I like to go with what people have said. But anyway, I'll wrap it up for this week. Thanks again for joining me. If you've enjoyed it, please consider giving me a thumbs up and subscribing if you want to see more of my videos, and tink that bell apparently, and that way you'll get to hear when the next video drops. Right, okay, well, thanks for joining me again, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.